Ta-Nehisi Coates, author, activist. A lot of people are familiar with him from Black Panther, etc. He's spoken a lot about race relations in the United States. And it seems like the pundits were great and they were happy about him when he was talking about racial issues for Black people in the US. But now Ta-Nehisi Coates has written a new book called The Message, where he is criticizing the state of Israel. And all of a sudden, some of those same people that were applauding him for talking about racial issues for Black Americans in the US are not happy that he is calling out Israel as an apartheid state. There we go.
Conflict, and there's so many quote unquote issues to be dealt with.
Ta-Nehisi, I want to dive into the Israel-Palestine section of the book. It's the largest section of the book. And I have to say, when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out so much? Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals with terror groups that want to eliminate it? Why not detail anything of the first and the second intifada, the cafe bombings, the bus bombings, the little kids blown to bits? And is it because you just don't believe that Israel in any condition has a right to exist?
So does everybody see what is happening here? Right? So now you have this guy who was brought in, you know, he's a part of CBS Mornings. They sick him in on Ta-Nehisi Coates. And I think that Ta-Nehisi Coates' response is just perfect. Because see, what's different about this particular issue when you compare it to the Breakfast Club where Angela Rye was attacking Jill Stein, now you have a white man attacking a Black man for not wanting to kiss up to Israel, for criticizing Israel. So listen to what he says.
Well, I would say the perspective that you just outlined, there is no shortage of that perspective in American media. That's the first thing I would say. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, with those who don't have the ability to talk. I have asked repeatedly in my interviews whether there is a single network, mainstream organization in America with a Palestinian American bureau chief or correspondent who actually has a voice to articulate their part of the world. I've been a reporter for 20 years. The reporters of those who believe more sympathetically about Israel and its right to exist don't have a problem getting their voice out. But what I saw in Palestine, what I saw on the West Bank, what I saw in Haifa in Israel, what I saw in the South Hebron Hills, those were the stories that I have not heard. And those were the stories that I was most occupied with. I wrote a 260-page book. It is not a treatise on the entirety of the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
But if you were to read this book, you would be left wondering, why does any of Israel exist? What a horrific place, committing horrific acts on a daily basis. So I think the question is, it seems like to me what he's saying to Ta-Nehisi Coates is, you shouldn't have written it. You shouldn't have put that information in there about Israel because we don't want people to have a bad opinion about Israel. So he wants Ta-Nehisi Coates to sugarcoat this image of Israel so that people don't know what Israel really is, so that people don't understand the creation of the state of Israel, so that people don't know that Israel is an apartheid state. He wants people to think that Israel is just this place for a group of people to be safe, That's all they want you to talk about. And I'm going to tell you a little something about Tony. I'm going to tell you why Tony's saying what he's saying. Okay. So hold on to that. Follow me here. Is central and key. If Israel has a right to exist, and if your answer is no, then I guess the question becomes, why do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Why do 20 different Muslim countries have a right to exist?
My answer is that no country in this world establishes its ability to exist through rights. Countries establish their ability to exist through force, as America did. And so I think this question of right to Israel does exist. It's a fact. The question of its right is not a question that I would be faced with any other country.
But you write a book that delegitimizes the pillars of Israel. It seems like an effort to topple the whole building of it. So I come back to the question, and it's what I struggled with throughout this book. What is it that so particularly offends you about the existence of a Jewish state that is a Jewish safe place and not any of the other states out there?
Listen to the framing. Notice the way he framed the question. He's basically saying to Ta-Nehisi, why would you be offended about a place that is there to keep Jewish people safe? That is what he is saying to Ta-Nehisi. Do you see how they frame it in such a way to make it look like you're an awful person? If you criticize Israel, the next thing you know, they start pointing fingers at you, calling you anti-Semitic. Anything is anti-Semitic now. If you follow me down this road, you'll see where I'm talking about here. But listen to what Ta-Nehisi says, because I think this is so incredibly important. Why are you pointing your finger at a black man, asking him about him critiquing a ethno-supremacist apartheid state? And Ta-Nehisi really brings that home.
There's nothing that offends me about a Jewish state. I am offended by the idea of states built on ethnocracy, no matter where they are.
Muslim included.
I would not want a state where any group of people laid down their citizenship rights based on ethnicity. The country of Israel is a state in which half the population exists on one tier of citizenship, and everybody else that's ruled by Israelis exists on another tier, including Palestinian Israeli citizens. The only people that exist on that first tier are Israeli Jews. Why do we support that? Why is that okay? I'm the child of Jim Crow. I'm the child of people that were born into a country where that was exactly the case, of American apartheid. I walk over there and I walk through the occupied territories and I walk down the street in Hebron, and a guy says to me, I can't walk down the street unless I profess my religion.
Pause. He is a child of Jim Crow. So you see, this is why another time, an ambush that did not work out well. How can you say to a black man who is an American descendant of slavery, how can you talk to him about having the audacity of criticizing an apartheid state? Do you know how many of us have our relatives, my grandparents, went through Jim Crow? My grandparents went through Jim Crow. My parents went through segregation. I was the first person in my family to go to an integrated school. This wasn't that long ago. And I feel like sometimes there's this need to play the oppression Olympics, because this really wasn't that long ago. Now, this white man named Tony is sitting there and he is telling, Ta-Nehisi, basically, he wants Ta-Nehisi to see that Israel was more oppressed than he was. And I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, Ta-Nehisi is like, let me tell you where I come from and where my people come from and what we have been through. Not just Jim Crow, not just slavery, redlining, housing discrimination, which still continues today. So Tony tried to flip it to make it seem like Ta-Nehisi is attacking Jewish people. Ta-Nehisi is attacking the state of Israel, the government, the laws, and the apartheid. And some of the same people who were against apartheid South Africa are for apartheid in Israel. That's your Kamala Harris. That's your Joe Biden. That's a lot of the Democrats, a lot of the black Democrats who were against apartheid in South Africa have no problem with apartheid in Israel. Don't you think that's a little bit strange? Don't you think that sounds like some people have been brainwashed? Don't you think some of these people sold out? Especially the politicians. Let him continue.
I'm with another path. No. I want to. This is very, very important.
So you see what happens here, right? So Gail and old dude over in the other chair, the other two black people, you got two other black people here. They try to interrupt him. So instead of defending, and Gail, we got a bones to pick with you, because Gail King, instead of defending Ta-Nehisi, who you should be pointing towards as your brother alike, you jump in to try to defend Israel. What is up with that? Let me let it finish, and I'm gonna tell you something.
Apartheid. I walk over there and I walk through the occupied territories and I walk down the street in Hebron. And a guy says to me, I can't walk down the street unless I profess my religion.
But
I'm with another pastor. No. I want to, this is very, very important.
See how they jumped in? Once he said religion, well, Gail want to keep that job. Gail want to continue to get that check. These are some of the people that you can point to that I said before, they cannot continue to represent us. They cannot continue to represent us. I would never. This is why you don't see me sitting there. This is why you don't see me in Gail's seat. This is why you don't see Breonna Joy Gray in Gail's seat. This is why you don't see us there. Because we weren't willing to sell out to the networks, to the studios. And that's fine. You guys can point fingers at me. You can point fingers at me and say, oh, Sabby lives in a white state. Oh, Sabby's married to a white person. Oh, Sabby, da-da-da. Sabby has never, ever went against my people. And I have never stood up to defend a apartheid ethno-supremacist state against anyone else. You would never see me do it. These people fooling you, man. These people tricking you. Sunday live stream. We're going to get into the Diddy escalation with Jaguar Wright and her appearance on Piers Morgan, because I'm trying to tell you guys, wake up. Some of these people are not what you think they are. You think that because you see Oprah with Stedman and you say, well, Oprah's with the black man and that's a black couple, that these are good people. These are not good people. These people are not doing good things. And you can add Gail to that list as well. Kamala Harris, they put her in front of you to cosplay. This woman is fooling you. These people are not good people. She locked up all these black men. And then you have Ta-Nehisi Coates, who actually had his opinion changed by this. And he gave a shout out to Rania Khalek for waking him up to what was happening to the Palestinian people. So I give him credit for that he was willing to say, okay, let me go do my research. And that's what he did. So the other two black people who are supposed to technically, you would think, would understand what he's coming from when he brings up apartheid. You guys love Ta-Nehisi Coates when he was talking about black racism in this country. But the moment he starts criticizing Israel, it's, oh no, God, what are you doing? Oh, I don't know who got a muzzle on these people, but some of these people should be ashamed of themselves. Gail and that other dude sitting next to you on the couch. You guys should be ashamed of yourself. I hope the check is good, hun. I hope the money is good. Richie Torres, I hope the money is good for you. I hope the money is good for all of you who sit up there and play this damn game. You are a disgrace. You are a shame. And you wonder why. Corporate media ratings are continuing to decline, because people can see through the bullshit. These are the people they put in front of you and tell you this is what you should be like. You should be like Gail. You should be like Oprah. I know. They told me too. They told me you should be like Oprah. That's what you should strive to be like. These are not good people. And Ta-Nehisi Coates, through all his stuff, he's not perfect. But when it was brought to his attention that he was wrong about this issue, He took it upon himself to go do the research and educate himself. And you can't be mad at him for that.
It is
extremely important.
Yeah, let me lay it down.
I'm working with the person that is guiding me is a Palestinian whose father, whose grandfather and grandmother was born in this town. And I have more freedom to walk than he does. He can't ride on certain roads. He can't get water in the same way that Israeli citizens who live less than a mile away from him can.
And why is that okay? Why is that? Why is there no agency in this book for the Palestinians? They exist in your narrative merely as victims of the Israelis, as though they were not offered peace at any juncture, as though they don't have a stake in this as well.
This is the other talking point we got to push back on, okay? Because just because you were offered a state, which, by the way, they weren't offered a true state and they were never offered the right to return. So just because there were offerings that were made to you and you did not pursue it, that does not give Israel the right to beat you, shoot you, kill you, sexually assault you, occupy you, and oppress you. Because that's what I'm hearing on the other side. Because you did not accept what we offered to you, it's Israel's right to do what they're doing to you. That's coming from Tony.
What is their role in the lack of a Palestinian?
I have a very, 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 very moral compass about this. And again, perhaps it's because of my ancestry. Either apartheid is right or it's wrong. It's really, really simple. Either what I saw was right or it's wrong. I am, for instance, against the death penalty. What the person did to get the death penalty, it really doesn't matter to me. I don't care if they were selling a nickel bag of marijuana or if they were a serial killer. I am against the death penalty. I am against a state that discriminates against people on the basis of ethnicity. I'm against that. There is nothing the Palestinians could do that would make that okay for me. My book is not based on the hyper-morality
What's the last
of the Palestinian people.
In lessons, because many people feel it's complicated. You say it's not complicated. Less than 20 seconds. What's your message?
Many people don't feel this complicated. That's the talking point that you have to repeat, Gail, so that you can keep that damn job. Many people, especially those that have been out in the streets, we know what exactly is going on. We've been paying attention. We've been following this story. So stop it with the it's complicated. They kill me with that. Seriously. So Ta-Nehisi's point, either you're against apartheid or you're not. You can't say I'm against apartheid, but only when a certain country does it. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. Too many people have been brainwashed and too many people have taken money from the Israeli lobby. So even they know what they're doing is wrong, but they're not going to fight back against it because they want to keep that donor money flowing. That's how it works. And he finishes here.
In 20 seconds. I want people to read the book. Yeah. And I don't make the assumption that somebody would just read the book and have read nothing else about Israel and Palestine.
You're still invited to High Holidays. I'll see you at the show.
Conflict.
So Tony, y'all see Tony? Okay, let's pull up Tony because I'm gonna show you something about the tone. Tony has a little bit of information I think you need to know about him, why he was so passionate about this issue. And yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're using Wikipedia. It is what it is. Look, Tony Dukabil, whatever. Listen to this. In 2014, In 2014, he announced that he converted to Judaism. Okay, whatever. Big deal. This is the part I think you need to pay attention to, though. Tony's two older children are living in Israel with their mother, his ex-wife. So Tony has a stake in this because his family lives there in Israel. Tony want to make sure that everything for him going to be okay. We still going to be cool. I got family there. Now, Ta-Nehisi Coates also was speaking at the Apollo. Ta-Nehisi Coates speaking last night at Uncommitted's campaign at the Democratic National Convention. So again, this was him here. Let me see if I can get this up for you.
So I'm saying all this legacy, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about Fannie Lou Hamer, right? You know, his redemption of Fannie Lou Hamer and Shirley Chisholm and, you know, Jesse's first run. And then I'm like, right, but who's not on stage? Who's been pushed out the frame? And I'm hearing all this talk about, a woman's right to choose and protecting the autonomy of women's bodies, and yet I see on stage some of the very people who have put that autonomy in question. And I understand politics.
So the point that he's making here, which I think is important, at the Democratic National Convention, they brought all these different people on the stage to speak, but they refused to let one Palestinian American give their speech on the stage, which the speech at the end endorsed Kamala Harris. Now, this girl is a Democrat. She's a Democrat politician in Georgia. She's in the Georgia State House, and they wouldn't let her. It was already vetted, and they wouldn't let her go up on the stage, but they let Israeli family members speak on the stage. So what he's pointing out is that they allowed Republicans who are against a woman's right to choose to come up on the stage and speak, but they would not let a Palestinian American speak on the stage. And I don't know how much more clear I can make it for people, folks. But see, Tony from CBS this morning, Tony don't want you to talk about that. Tony don't want you to feel like Palestinians are victimized. Tony just wants you to keep it moving and paint Israel as a good place.
Like, I get it. You know what I mean? I understand that, I'm a writer. I am not running for election, but we got to be clear about this, though. We have to be clear about this. I'm outside that night, and I'm looking up, on stage a couple of nights later, and I'm out with these, uncommitted, folks whose only request was for a Palestinian American Democrat to be allowed to address the DNC. And I look up, and this is so important to say here, and I see the Central Park 5, up on the screen. This is not an attack on them. I got to be absolutely clear about this, right? I'm very, very happy for those brothers. But what I know is when they were going through their stuff, the Democratic Party wanted nothing to do with them. Right. They were dehumanized. They were pushed out of the frame, and I'm standing with people who have been pushed out the frame. You know what I mean? And I'm with people whose families are being bombed literally right now. Right now. And it's like, one of the great tragedies of being in Israel and going to Yad Vashem and being, so incredibly moved is this feeling of like, what does never again really mean? Mm-hmm. Does it truly mean never again? And that's a question for us too, right? Like, all of this pride and all of this, feeling that we feel, we gotta hold folks accountable. Like, I don't believe that you get to take Shirley Chisholm. I don't believe you get to take Fannie Lou Hamer and then bankroll those bombs to be dropped on people.
Yeah, that's an excellent point there from him, that you shouldn't have it that way. Like, you can't mention like Fannie Lou Hamer and then be okay with those bombs like dropping on Palestinian people. This is what I think like Ta-Nehisi is pointing out. This type of behavior right here. Now, this isn't Israel. This is right here in the United States. Look at this.
It's because of your Israel. Go to Gaza, go! They want you in Gaza. Why you don't go to Gaza? Why you don't go to Gaza? Why you don't go? Why you don't go to Gaza? We are the best people in the world. You are not people. You are Amalek. You are Amalek.
The world is outraged against what you're doing.
Why you don't go to Gaza? Why you don't go to Gaza? Go to Gaza. Go to Gaza.
Did everyone catch what he said? So these are two Jewish men. They're both Jewish. No, one is, Hasidic Jewish, but these are two Jewish men. Did you hear what he said to him? He said, "We are the superior people." He called him Amalek. We all know what this means. Like, what the hell is happening? This is what Ta-Nehisi Coates is referring to. This is what he's talking about. The supremacy. Now, that's not in Israel. That's right here in the U.S. Right here in the United States of America. And I want to show you something else, too. I don't know if everybody saw this. Look at this. This is from Brookings Institute. Brookings has just declared prejudice towards Muslim is highest among all religious and ethnic groups. August 27th, 2024. Prejudice towards Muslims is highest among all religious and ethnic groups. What is Tony talking about? What is he talking about?